This is the long-awaited Full Self-Driving 12.4. Elon had mentioned that this is arguably version 13. I'm on 12.4.1. Unfortunately, this won't be going wide release. There are a couple issues that have been noted. There's a lot to cover here, so let's get right straight into it. First and foremost, the biggest change with this is you no longer need to touch the steering wheel. I absolutely love that. Let's dive into the settings here. The first thing that I always configure in my autopilot menu is the profile setting for assertive. I always like it to be as assertive as possible, especially in a busy environment like Chicago. This is a new toggle, expanded full self-driving visualization. What this does is while it's active, it automatically expands the screen to full screen, which is great. Also in the navigation menu, there's a speed camera chime option that has been added. This is part of the spring update. A lot of other people have had this for a while, but for me, it's brand new. It's coming now into the full self-driving suite, which is great. A lot of new features added here. I'm taking it down into the city of Chicago. I'm a little bit west of the city right now. I'm going to test on Lower Wacker Drive to see how well it performs. The biggest differences here is the attention monitoring system. It's active. You get a little green dot indicating that it's active. That is new. When I first saw that, I was like, what is that green dot? Well, that means that it is monitoring you. Sometimes it cannot monitor you. In those situations, it will tell you whether you're wearing a hat or sunglasses. In those cases, you can use the scroll wheel to get around the blue flashing bar at the top. Just be aware of that. Otherwise, and here's another message, low cabin illumination. So if it's dark outside, it will actually give you a message about that. Look at the UI update. The visualizations go all the way to the top in the corner of the screen. I love that. And it's kind of transparent going around. In the upper right, you have the navigation, the map. That's a really nice addition. That card down in the bottom, though, for current drive and odometer reading, that's stuck there. Also the music, that usually you can swipe left and right on that little card and you can get the music. Music is default. I don't like how that's just kind of stuck down there. You can't get that out of the way. I tried everything to move it and it's permanently stuck there. So it's pinned there forever in the full screen mode. You can minimize it when you're in the split screen mode. Coming up here, you're going to see I have an intervention. Unfortunately, this is one of my biggest complaints about this version, the speed. So it's a 20 mile per hour zone. I did have to inject a little bit of speed here by hitting the accelerator pedal. Previous versions, 12.3.6 and prior, you could turn off the automatic speed offset setting. There was a toggle in the autopilot menu, and then you could then use the scroll wheel to increase the speed. You may be noticing here, in my car, I have a little extra monitor above my steering wheel.
This is the TLYARD T3 Pro display. You have CarPlay built into this display. It's really convenient, especially if you're used to using CarPlay. Also, blind spot detection. You get a nice red blinking bar on the far left side. The front camera is really nice, as well as the speaker. There's actually audio built into this thing. So you can have it broadcast directions from a rideshare app, for example, through CarPlay. Over the audio, you can interact with Siri now within your car. All of these new possibilities with just CarPlay alone. You can access Pandora. Waze is my favorite for navigation, so you know where there are accidents and what may be ahead.
If you're interested in picking up a T3 Pro yourself, head on over to TLYARD.com. The link is down in the description. Use my discount code TechGeek for a 27% discount off of any accessory for your Model 3 or Model Y. I'm taking my car to Lower Wacker Drive to test this very difficult scenario where I lose GPS connectivity. Previously with 12.3.6, my car almost hit some barriers. We're going to see how well it does. First of all, merging. Take a look at this. There's this traffic light, green, red. My car ignored the red and proceeded forward. Now watch. Left turn signal goes on. I haven't seen that in a very long time. That is great. As far as I understand, merging has been solved. Previously, it would just wait to the last second to merge, and then it would plow into other traffic. and it was very awkward and uncomfortable. Now, you can see on the right here, there's some traffic that's merging, and my car does not get over for them. I would have done that. It made me a little bit uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, I let it do it, and it was just fine. Now, up here, it's a right-only lane, and I need to go straight. And unfortunately, it doesn't recognize that I need to go straight, and it just stays in the right-only lane. So I have to force it over by disengaging. That is very unfortunate, and I'm not sure if that's a result of the merging of the highway stack and the city street stack.
And what's so crazy to me is that with version 11, it was a big deal when the highway stack and the city street stack came together, one stack to rule them all, and then in version 12, they separated again, but now they're back again. It's really confusing. But I can adjust the speed setting on the highway, and when it goes to city street, like right now, it changes to auto max. So this is an indication that we are now back on the city streets.
Now, you're going to see here I disengage to force it to the left. It was actually trying to avoid going down to lower Wacker Street. I think it has bad memories of going down here. So previously it almost hit front on with these barriers, and it would have caused a lot of damage to my car. I exaggerated a little bit, saying that I felt like I was going to die or my car almost killed me. I think I used those words exactly. In the moment, I did feel like I was going to get killed. It was very uncomfortable. But in this particular situation, we don't have that issue at all. You're going to see right here, there's a creep zone that shows up. Watch. I don't know why or where this is coming from. Right there. It's very bizarre. But we proceed forward. We're going to hit a red light here coming up. Then right after the red light, there's another red light. My car ignores it. In every other test, it would start to slow down for this red light. And the red light applies to this area to the right. You can see like there's another lane, like a loading dock zone. My car would always slow down there. I think it may have been because I was coming out of that area. I'm not sure.
Run.
This is the barrier situation. And it doesn't hesitate at all. But there's some water in the road, and it shows up as gray matter on the screen a little bit. So I'm not sure if that's related to it. Previously, there was a car in front of me that moved over there, and I was debating whether it was trying to follow that car. But this time, no issues whatsoever. We hit a lot of red lights down here. The second barrier is coming up here, and I don't have any issues here yet again. So very great results here.
Now the navigation is set exactly as it was before when I tested on 12.3.6. However, it is taking a different path around here coming up to basically go away from that barrier and turning left instead of turning right. And that eliminates a lot of the indecision. Just a quick recap. Up until now, we have had one intervention to introduce some speed. We had on the highway that wrong lane selection, which I'm noticing is a little bit of a trend with 12.4.1. Lane selection is still an issue. And then we had the disengagement coming into Lower Wacker Drive. Here's this barrier. Look at this. It's diverting me to the left instead of having me go straight like it did before. So it maneuvers through there perfectly. No issues whatsoever with the barrier.
Now you have all these flashing yellow lights. It handled them brilliantly. I swipe over just to take a look at the traffic lights that are blinking, to see exactly where we're heading. And now coming up to this red light here, we stop. And shortly after this, we're going to be turning right. So throughout this video, I do speed it up to save you some time. I know your time is very valuable. Each and every one of these videos takes me 8 to 10 hours of editing time, so your support is greatly appreciated. The vast majority of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel. At a bare minimum, you can hit that like button. It just takes a finger click of the mouse. Please leave a comment if you feel so obliged, but subscription and subscribing goes a real long way. I also have a Patreon. If you like and appreciate my content, I would love if you would subscribe to me on Patreon. It would go a long way as well. So this tunnel, it's going a little bit slow here. I felt a little bit uncomfortable, but I just let it do it because there's no traffic around me. It is very early in the morning right now, and it's Sunday. So thankfully, there's not a ton of, unpredictable things going on. But it is Chicago, and the roads are a mess. I mean, it's crazy getting around down here. It comes out of Lower Wacker Drive really, really nicely. And now we are waiting at this stop sign. Now, I'm doing some reroutes, and you can see the message on the screen saying, poor GPS location accuracy, additional attention may be required. Previously, it was going left. It was telling me to go left, the nav, that is. And then as soon as I did the reroute, it told me to go right. So it's kind of stuck trying to still go left. And I think if I waited maybe long enough, it would have figured it out. But I get really impatient and take over and then force it to go right. So I can't really blame Full Self-Driving. That disengagement is entirely on me. And multiple disengagements like that happen throughout this drive due to reroutes. So it makes it a little bit awkward. AI driver did have a situation where he was going straight and his car tried to turn right. I had that situation where there was a passing lane and it tried to turn right. Coming up here, turning right, a lot of construction. It slows down significantly there. And I didn't complain. I didn't think that was too bad. If someone was behind me, if it was rush hour, for example, someone may have gotten a little bit impatient with me in that situation, but I didn't have any issues with it. Coming up here, we are, there was a pothole there. I mean, a small one, but pothole recognition, someone had asked me that. It's not in this version, unfortunately. Still need to be very aware and alert of potholes. There was a gentleman standing next to his car. My car went around him really nicely. Throughout this entire video, I'm doing a lot of reroutes with the maps and trying to fine-tune the waypoints, because I'm from here. The point of this test was really to do the Lower Wacker Drive, and the rest of this is just kind of ad hoc.
So I'm trying to replicate the exact scenario where I take it to the Trump International Tower and then over to the Chicago Theater, and then from there to the Willis Tower, formerly known as the Sears Tower.
So that's kind of the order that I'm setting right now. So I'm kind of lining up my path, but the next destination is the Trump International Tower. You can see I need to turn right here to get over to that tower. And that requires going over the Chicago River, which takes me over a bridge. However, it reroutes here kind of abruptly. You can see here it's kind of pulling over. I think it's confused with me doing all the reroutes. There's a gentleman there taking a picture of his BMW in the road next to the Chicago Theater. I thought that was kind of funny. He had a really nice camera, by the way. But coming up here, we're going to be turning right onto Upper Wacker Drive. It's not called Upper Wacker Drive, but we're turning right on Wacker Drive in order to get over, to jog over the river to get to the tower. So this light says no turn on red. With the, I've driven maybe 60 miles now. That's 60 miles with Full Self-Driving 12.4.1, and it has never tried to turn right on a red light when a sign says no turn on red. Now I highly doubt it can read those signs, but it is fascinating to me that, even when there's no traffic around, it will wait. And that's been really phenomenal for me. So here it's rerouting like crazy. So it changes like at the last second to go left, which is what I want to do. So a little bit all over the map, but that's just because I'm changing the waypoints. So please ignore some of the sloppiness there with turning. Thankfully, it's so early in the day that there's not a lot of traffic. But we're coming up here. This is a red light. In a lot of my testing, I've actually never been stopped here at this light. People are walking around, and a lot of people are looking at the GoPro, which is mounted way above my car. Let me know what you think of this new setup where I have the steering wheel on the bottom left and kind of showing the screen on the bottom right. I added that in just for reference. I thought it would be neat for people to see. But through here, we have some parked cars. Look at this guy coming out on the left. My car slowed down. I would not have done that if I were driving manually. But it slowed down for him, even though my view was obstructed a little bit with that other car coming. That was really, really well done. And he kind of gave a hand gesture thanking me, and it's always one of those situations where it's like, he can see me through my windshield, and he's maybe expecting that I respond back to him. I mean, probably not, but I always feel like I have to respond back to people. But when the car's driving itself, it's always an unusual situation. Take a look at this. It turns left here. It finds that gap. That was really, really well done. So every other situation, I've never been down in the city this early for testing, but every other situation, there's a lot of traffic, and it hesitates there a lot, but it went through really well. That left turn there as well, really, really well done. If you've been following me for a while, if you've watched my Chicago drives, this is a route that I take continually. Usually there's a lot going on in this area, a lot of foot traffic. But again, it's so early that there's not a ton of activity. There's someone here with their dog. I don't remember that the dog showed up there in that particular situation, but I am dialed in now for the Chicago theater. So we're going to go back over the river to get to the theater. And then from there, heading to the Willis Tower, which is previously the Sears Tower. Light turns green. And going straight really, really nicely here. No issues. You can see these people crossing. So it's a red light. It's doing everything very, very well. Just as I would be driving. So the comfort level felt really nice for me. I didn't have any issues really. And for this reason, I don't have very many complaints about 12.4.1. And I just love the fact that you don't have to touch the steering wheel anymore. So here again, just modifying the nav, and in the process, it decides to pull down this alley randomly. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. For a very small period, it was telling it to go here, and then I rerouted, and it told it to go somewhere else. So this is just me kind of playing around with the nav. It's not really not really representative of a typical drive, because usually when you're driving around, you're not like testing and experimenting like I am right now. So I'm just kind of adding stuff ad hoc. Usually when you're driving somewhere, you know where you need to go, and you're never changing that. So this gentleman is crossing the road. It says no turn on red, and yet again, it does a very, very nice job. It easily could go right now. You can see it's kind of starting to go, and then it hesitates and stops and continues to wait, and then the light turns green, and then it proceeds forward. It does exactly what it needs to do, not turning on the red light there. Here, coming under this bridge, this is iconic Chicago scenery. The train tracks right above. a lot of construction. Construction is kind of like a centerpiece of Chicago. It's kind of funny because you can never drive through Chicago without construction. And there's a gentleman, Frenchie, who used to post a lot of full self-driving videos. He had a child and hasn't posted in a while, but every video of his has construction as well. We're waiting for these people here to cross the road, and then we're going to be turning right here, and does a very nice job. And as soon as it turns green, it starts to press forward and moves through here. Now, take a look at this. We've got some people crossing here. Did a really nice job taking caution. Now, there's a gap here. I probably would have gone, but it takes extra caution for this lady here, and then it finds the gap between her and this other person walking, and it goes for it. And there again, we're passing by the Chicago Theater. I think at this point, I was looking for some coffee. I can't remember exactly. I did a lot of reroutes during this drive, but ultimately heading over to the Willis Tower from here. No, that's right. After the Willis Tower is when I decided to try to grab some coffee. Later this day, I headed back to the suburbs, and later this day, I did a lot of things with my family, so I didn't get a chance to edit this until much later. You can see this bus pulling in front, and my car slowed down and waited just fine. And then it's getting over to the right. And I love that you can see the map again in the upper right. That's really, really great. And then coming to this red light to wait, and the right turn signal is on. You can see the creep zone. It's waiting for this gentleman crossing the road before proceeding forward. There's no sign that says you can't turn on red, but my car waits. And this is, so maybe at every red light now, it waits more. I feel like in the past it would have turned right here, but it just patiently waits. Now, if somebody was behind me, this definitely would have been an intervention, because nobody would have had the patience to wait for me there. Thankfully, it's not going into the bus lanes. In the past, it would go into those, and it would be very uncomfortable. Now, it's not conclusive. I have to do more testing. It's highly possible that it would go into the bus lane if I were turning right, but I have not had that happen in quite a while. I don't think it's ever happened on version 12. It happened a couple times on version 11. Now, you're going to see here a cyclist comes up behind me. So as soon as the light turns green, I can proceed forward. I didn't see this cyclist. So right here, it says I can go, and it slows down. Cyclist comes up right there, and my car is slowed down for them. And, it's not something that you should do. You shouldn't be yielding to things behind you. So it's debatable whether that was the right thing to do or not. And then coming forward here, we're turning left and going under the bridge here again. And it's staying away from that bike lane, but then we need to turn right so it moves over into the bike lane. And it's interesting because that is completely normal, even though it's a bike lane. The bike lane shares the lane with the cars. So if a bike is there, they're going to weave in and out or whatever. But this has never been an issue in this area. As complicated as it is with all these poles, when I first started testing down here, I was always very nervous that my car would hit one of those poles because they don't really show up in the visualizations. So I never am clear on how much it can see and how much it can't see. Here I'm getting the please pay attention to the road message because I'm playing around with the nav again. Now, in the past, I would always stop testing here. I decide to take it around a little bit more to do some more testing. So I'll fast forward through some of these spots just to save you some time and to get to to the more interesting parts. But we proceed forward here. I should note while we're proceeding forward here that this version is going to be delayed. It needs a little bit more polish according to Holmar's blog, which Elon Musk agreed with. And I think it has to do with the lane decisions and possibly highway stack with what we just saw there, but certainly with the lane selection. I waited for that woman with her dog really, really well, and then proceeded forward and made that turn really nicely. Now, unbeknownst to me, it's taking lower Wacker Drive here again. And it comes down here. This is really fascinating. So I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, it's going back into the tunnel. We get lucky with the green light, and we're supposed to turn right. But look at this. It's supposed to keep going forward, but instead it takes this side area. So this is for loading zones, and it thinks it needs to go really fast here. It thinks for some reason it's going 35, and then it slows down to 33. So my offset setting is for 13% over the speed limit. So it makes sense that it's going this speed, but the auto max, it's supposed to be adjusting to other traffic, and there's no traffic around me. I mean, maybe it sees the cars over there on the other side of the barrier. The fascinating thing to me, though, is that it stops for all the stop signs correctly. It actually slows down a little bit in here compared to where it was. So it's registering now a 15 mile per hour speed limit. And I keep thinking to myself as I'm driving through here that if there's a police vehicle or law enforcement, I could get in some trouble. I don't think you're supposed to be driving over here. I've never seen other cars driving through here. So, it's really early in the morning. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And I'm not too concerned, but at the same time, it's like, oops. So it continues to go forward here. Now, I do witness an issue that occurred previously. You're going to see here coming up after this stop sign. We go forward, and we're supposed to continue going straight, as you see. But look at this. It gets into the left-only lane. There's a little bit of indecisiveness with the lane selection. Not too bad, but definitely noticeable. And it comes here, and it's supposed to turn left because we're in the left-only lane. But down here, it's always pretty quiet. This is a great area to, take shortcuts in Chicago if you want to avoid traffic up above. But most people, because it's so confusing down here, most people don't come down to this area. Proceeding forward here. And it's going to take us out of the tunnel by going straight up here again, thankfully. However, this destination that I have dialed in, which is a hotel near Michigan Avenue, is the entrance, the correct entrance for, drop off or pickup is up one more level from here. And I don't think it knows the levels, but it comes up here and, we wait for the light to turn green. So it's confusing here, right? You have that light over there that's yellow. It's very confusing. It ends up turning right, and then it pulls over to try to... this is the destination. You can see the pin on the map. It's right here where we need to stop. This is it. We should have arrived. Now, I'm getting poor GPS location accuracy messages again, so it's maybe related to that. However, I will say that this exact situation happened in the suburbs, where it actually happened at my home, where previously it would pull over to the side of the road, but now it seems to approach the pin and then never actually pull over or stop. It slows down a lot, but then it just keeps going. So here it's coming around again to find the pin. Now, I disengaged because I was like, okay, I've had enough of this little game, because it could have just kept going in circles. So I put in another destination to get out of this area. But interesting with that behavior, that's something I have never seen before, where will approach the pin and then not pull over completely, keep going, and then circle back to get to the destination. And I'm curious if others that have this version are witnessing the same thing. It would be interesting to find out. But that is something I have witnessed. And, my biggest complaint with this version is really the speed. Oftentimes it's going too slow. And instead of using the scroll wheel to increase the speed, I have to step on the accelerator. It's going awfully slow here, and I'm feeling like I need to intervene, but I have enough patience, so I just let it do its thing. We're waiting now for the light to turn green to proceed forward. Pretty straightforward here. No issues going back under that bridge. Under the train, that's the L, I think, or the blue line. I'm not sure exactly which train goes up there, but it's the CTA, I believe. It's not the Metra. So there's two different train systems in Chicago. So here it's interesting. It waits for the light and then suddenly it slows down. So I get honked at, unfortunately, there for good reason. I don't know why my car slowed down. It should have just kept going. And here the light turns green, and my car didn't go, and then it's red again, and I'm waiting again, and I'm just extra patient. So normally I would have forced it if I was trying to get to a destination. Yet again, it didn't go. If I was trying to get to a destination, I wouldn't have the patience to wait for it like that. After this trip, I felt really, really good about how 12.4.1 performed. I really hope this goes wide sooner rather than later, because the nag-free driving is a game changer. I really, really enjoy using this version, and I haven't experienced too many awkward situations. Now, it's not perfect, and there are issues such as lane changes and then that speed adjustment, but overall, it performs really well. Here we had 5 interventions and 3 disengagements. If you're still watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.